Hey, what's going on, guys? Rum Gaming here, back in another video. Today we're going to talk about moving through the progression tiers in Lord of Hatred and what you can do now, early, right after you finish the campaign, the steps that you should kind of take to help you progress through the tiers faster. So probably the most important thing you can do right after the campaign is once you hit level 70 and unlock Torment Tier 7, you only want to do activities that are on your war plan. And the reason for this is because every activity that you complete grants bonus loot and progresses your activity trees, and those trees are game-changing for you. Now, what do I mean by this? Let's just say that you clear a pit and you have upgraded your war plan tree, your activity tree. And let's say you're in Torment like 4 or Torment 5. If you upgrade your tree, you're actually going to be getting, potentially Torment 7 and Torment 8 gear instead. So your trees can actually increase the quality of what you're getting from the chest. They could just give you more loot in general. You could get more XP. There's a lot of different things that can happen by upgrading this tree. So let's just take a look at this little infographic here. So let's just kind of start at the pit. So we have Kron's Blessing. This will give us a +1 glyph upgrade chance on completion of the pit. This is great for quickly leveling your glyphs. You also have Chris's Haste. So the pit's going to gain a haste mastery objective, and you have to kill the garden with 5+ minutes left, and then you'll get a +1 glyph upgrade. If you finish it faster, you'll get +2. So right here, you get +1 from Kron's Blessing, and then you get +2 through Chris's Haste. This gives you +3 glyph levels for completing a pit, which is crazy, right? +3 upgrades per run on your glyph just from this tree. Now for Helltides, you kind of want to go down the right-hand side for the demonic rats. And the reason you want this is because those rats will give you a bunch of cinders for when you are within Helltides, right? That's going to allow you to open more chests. We also have the node Fall of the Fell. This is going to make the Harbingers spawn twice as often for meteors and drop twice the cinders. And then those Harbingers and Elites also get +1 power for better overall rewards from the Helltide. And then finally, Hell's Price down here at the bottom. A special chest appears in Helltide that costs 666 cinders and dumps a massive pile of items in front of you. So all these nodes kind of synergize with one another. You're getting more cinders, you're getting more cinders, you're getting better rewards. And that all, you're trying to funnel all that into Hell's Price, which gives you that big, almost like pinata sort of loot effect once you get those 666 cinders. For Nightmare Dungeons and Tree of Whispers, a little bit more simple. So for Nightmare Dungeons, you want to go for the Walking Spoiled, get a bonus chest at the end of the dungeon, and then a Dread Revival. This means that you get to basically resurrect the boss again, defeat him again, and get twice as many rewards and extra XP. And then Tree of Whispers over here on the right, you go down the middle branch. This is going to give you more XP from caches. And then eventually a chance to drop a Resplendent Spark from your caches, which will be crazy for, of course, crafting your mythic items. So in terms of your war plan, that's kind of the route you want to go, in my opinion. We also have gambling. So how do you want to gamble in this expansion? So first thing you want to do is you're going to start putting points here into your Urn of Curiosity. You can get 4 points into that. And the reason you want this is because this is going to give you a chance to grant an additional item whenever you are gambling. Now, once that is actually set, you need to kind of start thinking about what you actually need to gamble for. So typically, most of your power comes from like a ring, an amulet, a weapon. So you might want to target those specific slots first. And then just kind of a heads up here on the right, ancestral items at 900 item power or above can actually drop without a greater affix now. So just because you get a really strong, 900 item power weapon or whatever, doesn't necessarily mean it's great. So just kind of something to keep in mind moving forward. Now, one of the things that you can do as well in this expansion is the loot filter. So this is going to be found in your options and within gameplay, and then you can kind of scroll down till you find the loot filter option. So what you want to do is you want to set a filter to basically just recolor any of those ancestral items at 900 item power. So you can kind of see this little graphic over on the right that looks somewhat similar to this. And the reason that you want to use red is kind of down here at the bottom. Red does not appear currently in the game in the loot rainbow. So these items are going to stick out, like a sore thumb, right? There's a lot of other things you can do with these loot filters. The other thing I'd recommend is to hide common and magic items. So common and magic items are not going to be useful to us in the Horadric Cube. Only yellows will be useful to us in the cube. So anything that's white, anything that's blue, you go ahead and just filter past them if you want. Obviously, I probably would not set this up until a little bit later in the season once you get enough materials and all that. But that is an option. Just kind of keep that in mind. Okay, another thing I want to talk about is lair bosses. Lair bosses work differently now. this is really good. Lair bosses are honestly one of the main reasons that I've not played Diablo 4 as much as I have in the past, because Lair bosses are just, the key system is just trash. It's terrible. I hated it. You literally have to pull up a guide to figure out, you know, what keys drop from what boss and how to summon the boss. Where do you get the materials to summon the boss? So all that's changing now. So you no longer need to farm summoning item materials in their old way. So layer keys can drop from these items: war plans, tortured gifts, and hell tides, world bosses, and the Tree of Whispers. So kind of going back on why war plans are so important now to the end game. And even better over here on the right, when you kill a layer boss, it can even drop more layer keys. So this is going to kind of allow you to just chain runs back to back. Now it's still broken out into 2 tiers, right? You still have normal layer bosses and you also have greater layer bosses. So greater layer bosses will have their own keys. Those are going to be from killing regular layer bosses, right? So there's kind of this funnel system, right? You got to kind of start here and then get keys for the greater layer bosses. And greater layer boss keys come from, again, killing regular layer bosses or war plans. And you'll actually get access to even more keys once you hit Torment 6. Their availability, they just become more common, essentially. So eventually, once you finally hit Torment 7, you come down here to step 3. This is going to be the Echo of the False Prophet, which is kind of like the final raid boss, right? Now, to be able to loot this, you're going to have to get something called a Crook of the False Prophet here. So you'll get 1 once you hit Torment 7, and then if you want to farm more Crook of the False Prophets, you'll have to farm plus 10, Torment 10s or higher. So this is kind of a long-term goal that you want to chase that has really, really good rewards, and you kind of want to, start farming this funnel as quickly as you possibly can. Get those greater layer keys, try to quickly gear your character as fast as you can, right? By farming some of these out and get your character into that Torment 10 plus content. Okay, so this section here, what charms should you prioritize early versus late game? And how do they kind of affect your damage and your scaling? So early on, you want to focus on charms that give bonus kill experience, and you're going to try to complete the practice technique slot. So this is going to give you a good chunk of bonus XP. It's going to make leveling quite a bit faster. As you do kind of push into higher torment tiers, though, you kind of want to shift because more damage matters than just raw XP. And where this scaling really comes into play is when you combine these different charms with like gear bonus sets. And when you combine those two together, all damage in the game is multiplicative damage scaling now. So when you combine these different charms with something like a 200% more bonus damage to demons, you get exponential damage scaling, right? It's a multiplicative damage scaling. It's not additive damage scaling. So once you get into late game damage, you're going to be stacking charm ranks on whatever your core skills are. Okay, next thing we're going to talk about is the Horadric Cube. The Horadric Cube is very strong now, and it makes pretty much all items in the game useful now, but it only works on yellow items and above. So we talked about earlier on your loot filters, you want to exclude, once you get, a little bit more throughout the torment tiers, you can exclude white items. If you don't need the gold from them or anything, you can exclude the common items, and you can just work on rare and above. So the cube is going to be good for squeezing value out of items that would otherwise, just be trash. So here's just an example here. Let's say you found a yellow item that has 3 good affixes. You could put it in the cube and you could add a 4th affix to it. You could put an aspect on it directly and turn something that would have been a suboptimal item into an optimal item. So that's one of the things you can do, right? Is you can add an affix to an item. You can also add an aspect to an item. Another thing you can do is emulation. Now, emulation is really cool because you can throw 3 of the same boss-specific item and turn it into an ancestral item. So, I can't tell you how many times I've killed bosses and I just, you get the same stuff that drops over and over and over again. Now you can actually make use of that. And this is really cool because it adds some bad luck protection, right? You could be farming a boss over and over for that specific unique. It keeps dropping, but it's never, an ancestral item. And now you might only have to farm the boss, like 10 times or something. And now you're pretty much guaranteed that ancestral. Now, the third option down here is you can reroll set charms. So let's say you have a duplicate set charm. You can add Primordial Dust and Infused Rider Dust, and you can continue to re-roll the charm until it gives you a new charm. As long as you have the materials behind it, right? You can continue to re-roll that set charm until you get the specific set charm that you're looking for to complete the full set. And you can continue to do that over and over again until you get your full set of charms. Another thing I want to talk about here is bartering at the den. So you can see here we have aspect caches and we have masterworking caches. Now this is going to be useful. You want to go for the aspect cache when you can't get the aspects that you need from drops. So these can contain ancestral items and greater affixed gear, and they're pretty much your best bang for buck in terms of pale marks for chasing aspects. And then we also have the masterworking caches. So the only time you will want to go for a masterworking cache is if you're looking for masterworking materials. Really, outside of that, you're just going to go for the aspect caches because these have a chance to drop those ancestral and those greater affixed items. But if you are bissed out completely, then that's when you'd go into the masterworking caches and try to get more materials. One thing that you want to avoid is down here at the bottom. You do not want to buy individual items outright. There's not good value in it. They're marked up way too high. So stick with the caches. Okay, and next we have gems. I guess really gems, and we have runes as well. So like what are the best gems and rune combos? And how do you make legendary runes in the cube? So real gems are dropping naturally, and they're pretty strong. We're talking, like 20-40% damage multipliers, especially when they go into your weapon. So these are huge damage boosts from previous iterations of gems. Again, all damage is multiplicative now. So, this is 40% multiplicative damage. So this is a lot of damage that you'd get from socketing the correct gems. Obviously, depending on your build, right, you'll put in that specific gem, especially just depending on the damage type that you do. So just make sure not to overlook those. We also have runes, and this is going to be a pretty good rune combo. This is what I get for using AI to make some of these images here. This is CEH, so Circ and CEH rune. So this is a good combo to run. Again, it's CEH, not C, but CEH. I guess the tool I was using got that wrong. But the reason these wolf companions are good is because they're going to give you a lot of things to help stay alive. Tankiness, freezing, vulnerability. The wolves are kind of running around, and they're just a good sort of jack of all trades sort of rune combo. And then down here at the very bottom, you can actually craft a specific legendary rune if you can't find it. So this is going to require 5 legendary runes, just any 5 legendary runes, any 5 rare runes, and then 1 specific blue rune, just depending on what you're trying to craft. The tooltip will tell you which blue rune you need to put in there. Then you'll be able to target the rune that you're actually wanting. I found another typo in here. It says RHAN down there, but it meant the legendary rune you're targeting. So it's a really cool. Runes have sucked in the past. You either have to pay and trade to get the runes that you need, or just be unlucky for weeks. So really love that. Then last thing we're talking about here is the Paragon path. So everybody's going to have their own path, right? But this is probably the most efficient way to kind of get through your Paragon board to get as strong as you can as quickly as possible. So when you are building out your Paragon board, you kind of want to ignore the temptation to activate your glyphs early. You kind of want to go around them, because most of your power is actually going to come from your legendary nodes, not your glyphs. Your glyphs aren't very strong early anyways. They're not leveled up. You don't have all the different points around the glyph to make it as strong. So this graphic here is just kind of like an example, but if you hit your legendary nodes, you can get all this free damage scaling that kind of stacks on top of each other. Now, obviously, these numbers here are just an example. Don't take those at face value. But that's kind of the idea, is do the legendary nodes first and then go back and do the glyphs after you unlock all the legendary nodes. That's going to give you that first initial push, I guess, and that's going to help you get to Torment 12 faster. All right, guys, that's going to be the end of this video. If you enjoyed it, please consider liking and subscribing to the channel. See you guys in the next one.